Hi everybody, my name is Yasmeen AlSaffar and I'm here today to talk to you about the different trends and how to keep ahead with a little bit of a background on the fintech ecosystem. Maybe just to give you a background about my personal experience. I am part of the Economic Development Board, Business Development Financial Services team, and part of our remit is to also focus on the fintech ecosystem, the players around it, and working with the relevant stakeholders in the country and internationally to build this space as well. So the fintech ecosystem is a rapidly developing eco space. The whole element of digitalization is something that's always on the back burner of everyone's mind. But I think this is a reality that we're living today. COVID has brought a lot of these fintech solutions and fintech players and fintech adopters into a time where they need to kind of really adopt and kind of embrace all these changes. And obviously things don't happen overnight. And this is where the challenges could be. So when we talk about trends, there's a multiple different ways of doing it. I mean, the easiest way is, if you're very active on social media, whether the formal channels or the informal channels, there's always information that's being shared. And the beauty about the fintech ecosystem and the fintech players are they're always ready to engage and share their experiences. So I'd encourage people that are looking into this space to follow some certain groups, attend certain webinars to kind of get the different know-hows. From my personal experience, it's very interesting to see what are these people are trying to achieve. Obviously with COVID, we've noticed that people are pushing towards digitalization. How to go about adoption is sometimes the question that a lot of people do ask, and I do encourage a lot of my networks that are not maybe so tech savvy or very inclined to kind of understand the technicalities of it is to connect with fintech players, because they would be the ones to know it. They'd be the ones to understand what are the market opportunities, what are the niche areas that people need to explore. It's quite a fast, dynamic, moving ecosystem. It might not be new in that sense. I mean, people claim fintech was as old as the ATM, and it continuously evolves and develops. And so I'm definitely 100% sure that we haven't seen the end of it. But definitely, you need to be on top of things when you talk about fintech. So just being aware of what are the latest changes and being able to adapt to the different challenges that might pop up and just be opportunistic, really. The second item I would like to also share with you guys is building trust. Continuous engagement is what is key. The worst thing from either a client's perspective or let's say a partner that you're working with is this ambiguity of not really knowing. And this is a classical chance for a lot of the players to engage, explain what they do, highlight the opportunities. Obviously, it's a tough challenge trying to kind of build that rapport with the industry. But that would kind of encourage you to do maybe a lot of networking. Use your network, your personal connections. It's always good to have that one person that could be a champion to what you're trying to push for. And then that one person could kind of instill that trust. But I mean, just make sure you don't fail on that kind of delivery. So, what you say, stick to it, and don't overpromise or underpromise. Just tell them that this is what your capabilities, and you are trying to test it out, and you're just looking for a partner that is willing to kind of put that trust in you in order to achieve that. And I think that's something that we've seen quite well with our regulatory sandbox out of Bahrain. So with the central bank, where they obviously are focused on the regulatory environment, all AML issues, etc., and consumer protection. But what they've come up with is this kind of, let's say, amalgamation of a safe and controlled environment within the regulatory sandbox. And that kind of showed the trust in the companies that they've authorized to enter into their sandbox, to operate and understand and maybe kind of at least an opportunity to test their products. Once they come out of it and you do get the authorization or the licenses to operate, then you've almost garnered the trust of the industry because of your ability to prove yourself and your product. Another element is consumers. The whole financial services system is functional because of what we actually need to do, and we need to transact and do things. In order for fintechs to thrive and for digitalized solution providers to achieve the best results, they need to understand what are the issues that they're solving for and what are the solutions that they can provide using technologies. Through our various interactions with the industry, certain challenges do get highlighted. For example, consumers are always on the lookout for the best deal out there. And so as a bank, how can I provide the best deal to my clients who bank with me? Can I provide them the right insurance platforms? I know their spending behaviors. Obviously, there has to be a lot of back legwork. There has to be a lot of data that is generated, and banks do typically have a lot of data. It's the question of what can you do with that data. And obviously, Bahrain has embarked on a number of different initiatives, along both with the private sector and the public sector, to ensure that kind of infrastructure is ready for use. So obviously with the introduction of open banking, with the kind of mandation of like APIs, obviously there's a lot of scope and development for that ecosystem to develop. And all parties are involved and working together collaborative to achieve one goal, is to move in that direction of digitalization. But the crux of it is there's no point of doing that if your end consumer is not going to use it. Adoption is key. And so you can have the best online platforms, you can have the best financing programs or the best robo-advisory platform, but if, let's say, me as the end user is not interested, I still want to go to the branch and and see somebody to kind of withdraw cash or deposit cash, then whatever solutions you might be providing does not meet my needs. So understanding your market segments, understanding the millennials, the X generation, which is probably like those would be the bigger adopters. However, COVID had put a lot of emphasis on the older generation, like maybe some of our parents don't really trust the system to put their bank account details online. They still think that they're going to be frauded out of their bank account. And so what we've seen, I guess it's both a blessing and a curse, but it had increased the online transactions. We see Benefit, our national e-wallet, has shared with us, there's been a huge increase in the transactions that have been happening online. There has been an increase in wallets in Bahrain, and we want to push that kind of agenda forward. It's just a question of, are people ready for that to be used? And just maybe to wrap up, the world is your oyster. There's a lot of opportunities. Don't feel stuck that you've done one major, that you can't kind of contribute to other majors as well. Technology is sector agnostic. If you have the right basics and the right backgrounds, and if you do enough kind of sessions in terms of just trying to understand what is out there, you can modify the skills that you've amassed or gained over a long time or over a small period, because this is also a good time for people to do career shifts. They might be good in one element, and then they can do a bit of an add-on and kind of migrate into this ecosystem and contribute and share their experiences. I know for a fact, obviously, Bahrain FinTech Pay have launched a couple of their talent programs. Tim Keen, our label fund, is always keen to kind of upskill and localize some of the content here and kind of like put Bahrainis on the ability to kind of participate in that ecosystem. There's a lot of different programs run by the BIDF. The idea is try the best that you can, and don't think that this is kind of, let's say, a small ecosystem. It's quite vast, it's varied, and hope this session was useful, and see you later.